Hello and welcome to Deakin's Virtual Open Day. I'm Professor Damien Blake and I'm the Head of School for Deakin's School of Education. I'm thrilled to have you with us as we explore some of our career change courses that are for people who are interested in becoming a teacher. We'll also be hosting Q&A sessions straight after this presentation and we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have. Before we get into it, we might just start by acknowledging the traditional lands on which all of our campuses are located. And we acknowledge the lands and the waterways and the airs of the Kulin Nation and the Guntitj Mara peoples. We acknowledge the elders, past, present and emerging, all of the lands on which we work, study and live, and we pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. I might start by talking a little bit about the Deakin difference. Deakin's School of Education is actually ranked in the top 5 universities in Australia for our education courses. And we're also ranked within the top 30 in the world's QS rankings. Both of those are significant achievements for the School of Education, and we're very proud of them. We also have world-class innovative researchers in the school, and much of our research makes a difference to the practice of teachers and policy across the country as well. So we're quite significant in the research space as well as our teaching programs. And of course, we have a very dedicated academic staff who are committed to both your teaching and making sure the courses that we teach in are informed by the research that we do. If you're interested in career change, it's really important that you start to think about how the course that you do will be enabling you to study whilst you're also probably balancing many other things in your life. And initial teacher education courses, which are courses that are designed to help you become a registered teacher, they all have professional experience programs. And professional experience programs means that you'll be undertaking professional practice and professional experience in schools, typically in early childhood settings, depending on the course that you do. But importantly, you'll need a fair bit of support in that, and our professional experience office will be able to provide a lot of that support for you and help you to organise those placements for you. And that's a significant piece of support. I'll talk more about the professional experience, but the study support is also a very big part of what we can do to help you as you change careers to become a teacher. Our teachers are very helpful, and our study mentors, but we also have student success coaches who can assist you as well. A lot of people comment on the flexible study options of our programs when they change careers to become teachers, and that's a really important part, because when you're studying and you're midlife, or you've got a family, or you've got a mortgage and you've got work and other things that you're doing, it's often a helpful thing for you to be able to change from full-time to part-time study, or vice versa. So we have lots of different study modes that you can use, including our cloud campus, and that is a really powerful asset to have when you're studying whilst you're changing careers too, and I'll talk more about that later as well. And the online study experience is something that, again, many of our graduates talk about as being useful because we are leaders in the technology, the digital learning that we use, and what we call our cloud campus and our cloud technology. And it will be very helpful for you in making a career change. And then, of course, as a career changer, there are times when you need more personal levels of support too. So Deakin's provides lots of support in terms of personal needs that you might need from time to time as well, which you can see on our website as well. So the courses I'll talk about today are all postgraduate courses, which means that you should have already completed an undergraduate degree, and your career change requires you to access our postgraduate courses, which are all master's degrees. And so the courses include the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching, which is a unique course. I'll talk more about the detail on that in a minute, but also the suite of Master of Teaching courses that cover early childhood, primary and secondary, and combinations of those, such as primary and early childhood, or primary and secondary as well. All of our courses have been designed to be accredited by the Victorian Institute of Teaching, which allows you to apply for registration as a teacher, and in the case of early childhood, they're accredited by the Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority, also known as a CEQA. So I'll start talking about the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching Secondary. This course is quite unique in the country, and it offers you the potential to make a career change in a intensive way and a fast track. The Applied Learning and Teaching qualification is a secondary course, so it's designed if you want to become a teacher in a secondary curriculum, and it qualifies you to work in secondary schools, but also in other use settings as well. Like some of the graduates will work in TAFEs, and they can work in adult learning settings, but most of them do work in schools. What's unique about this course is it prepares you to teach in many of the conventional secondary subjects that we might offer in the VCE and so on, but it also prepares you to teach in the VCAL too. And many schools teach VCE and VCAL. This is one of the only courses that offers the VCAL as well as VCE as well. So in many respects, it provides a stronger opportunity for you in pathways to a job around your preparation in applied learning. So we use a student-first approach, which is about making sure our students have an optimal experience, but also teaching in a way that allows you to do that with your own students when you become a teacher as well. It is ranked very highly and has been for some years, since it's been running. And Deakin's courses have also been ranked #1 in student satisfaction for the last 10 years as well. So, but you can be qualified to teach in a broad range of settings, as I said. So it's not just in school contexts. And it also involves professional experience. And you can engage critically with your teaching practice and challenge some of the more traditional approaches to teaching that are often in our schools. It's an incredibly innovative course in that sense, and many of our teachers work very closely as graduates from this course, work very closely not just with the schools, but they also work closely with non-government organisations and vocational providers as well, as a part of how they prepare amazing courses for our secondary school students, particularly as a part of the VCAL. But they also make great teachers in the more traditional areas of the VCE, such as chemistry and biology and English and maths and so on. So it's a very innovative course in that sense, and helps prepare you for a career change into areas where there is demand. So the structure of the course is 1.5 years full-time if you take it over 4 consecutive trimesters. And remember, Deakin has trimesters that we offer, 1, 2, and 3. Many universities just have semester 1 and semester 2 and a big break over the summer period, while Deakin uses a 3rd trimester over that summer period and helps you fast-track your study. So you can complete this in 1.5 years over that 4 consecutive trimesters, and so you can get to apply for jobs sooner in that sense. It would take twice that long if you studied it part-time. It's offered by something that we call intensive with flexible cloud mode. That means you do intensive studies whilst on the Warren Ponds campus, but then you're also in online and cloud mode as well. So in that sense, we use the best of both worlds. You study intensively at the start of the trimester and then a bit later in the trimester, and the periods in between, you get access to studying with fellow students and your tutors using our online mode, using the cloud, that is. So it makes it much easier for you to do professional experience placements that work around your busy life. And it also means you have more options in relation to balancing life, work, and study as well, compared to more traditional lecture-based scenarios. So it's a very good choice for people who are interested in a career change pathway into secondary teaching. So the requirements, as I noted, you do need a bachelor's degree, and in the bachelor's degree, you need to have subject specialisation, majors and minors in areas that do correspond to areas that you can teach within the VCE curriculum, and will prepare you with the VCAL. but you also need to do a CASPer test, which is a part of all of Deakin's initial teacher education courses. And I'll talk more about the CASPer test later on, but it's essentially a non-academic test that assesses your qualities in relation to becoming a teacher. And the curriculum areas that are covered off as a part of this course are very, very broad. I mean, they're based what you can become a teacher in. These methods of teaching, we call them, depends on what you've done in your undergraduate degree. So if you've done dance or chemistry or drama, for example, or English in your undergraduate degree, then if you've done sufficient amount of those, equivalent of a major and a minor, for example, then you can also undertake the methods of teaching those as a part of the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching, in addition to the VCAL. So it's a very useful course in that sense, because it has quite a flexible range of subject specialist areas that you can work in. The Master of Teaching includes the full suite, which I've listed there on the screen. It includes the Master of Teaching Early Childhood, which is a 2-year course, and that's offered by face-to-face on our Burwood campus, and also in cloud mode, which is fully online in that sense. And all of the Master of Teaching courses are offered in both of those modes, and they're all 2 years. So the Master of Teaching Early Childhood, we've also got the Master of Teaching Primary and Early Childhood, which is a combination of the two. The Master of Teaching Primary, if you want to be just a primary teacher, compared to primary and early childhood that I just mentioned, where you could be you have access to employment in primary and early childhood contexts as well. You can also do the Master of Teaching Primary and Secondary if you want to be a primary teacher and a secondary teacher. You know, have option to employment in both of those settings, or you can do the straight Master of Teaching Secondary if you're interested in just secondary. Again, the prior study to enter those courses includes a bachelor's degree in a different discipline that does allow you to teach in a range of subject specialist areas, as well as the CASPer test, which I mentioned just previously. For the primary Master of Teaching, some of the curriculum areas that you cover include English and literacy, maths, science, humanities and social sciences, the arts, technology, health and PE as well. Whereas the secondary courses offer quite a broad range of methods and double methods for some areas as well. So they include the range of curriculum areas that I've included there on the screen. And you'll see most of those are often taught in schools. And if you've done your undergraduate degree with sufficient studies to help you teach in those areas as a part of the master's degree, then you'll also study methods of teaching in those areas. So as I noted earlier, professional experience is a very important part of all initial teacher education programs, and each course has slightly different requirements for our programs. They can be between 60 and 120 days of professional experience where you're placed in schools. And so you need to look more specifically into the specific program that you might be interested, the specific course that you're interested in, to find out what the exact number of professional experience days would be. Most of our master's courses require at least 60 days, and then some, depending on whether you're combining it with primary and early childhood and so on. So I'd encourage you to read into more specific detail about those courses. But you are supported by the Professional Experience Office, who are a tremendous team who help organise your placements in the schools, and they keep communication with you and we monitor your progress. The contacts that they have are extraordinary. Our professional experience placements work with more than 1,400 schools across the whole of Australia. While most of them are in Victoria, we work with schools in every state in the country as well, and many of our students are doing their professional experience placements in those contexts too. We work closely with other agencies too, including the VIT and ASEQA, as we mentioned, and we also work very closely with what we call our alliances, which is a number of schools unique to Deakin, where we join up our primary and our secondary schools in our communities across Melbourne, Burwood and Warrnambool as well. And they're very powerful learning opportunities for your professional experience. Many students have questions that they ask about making the career change, and often one of the biggest one is how much study is involved in a postgraduate qualification like this. If you're studying full-time, you'll be studying 8 units a year, which means 4 units per trimester typically, and each of those units does require a fair commitment to your online learning, to your face-to-face if you're enrolled in face-to-face, and then again your professional experience. If you're doing your professional experience, you will require blocks of time where you can undertake your professional experience for 2-3 weeks at a time in the school context. In terms of your study, one of the terrific things is that because you have access to the cloud mode of studying, all of our students have access to the cloud resources, there's a fair degree of flexibility in terms of how you engage with it. So it is a fair commitment coming into teaching to become a teacher, because you're involved in learning new things about teaching, how to design curricula, how to teach innovative teaching strategies, and students work with students at all levels, as well as undertake assessment and so on, and lots of other work as well. So how do you juggle work and life commitments is often the other question. Well, again, that depends on how many life commitments you have, but what we do to make it easier is have our online learning facilities, which does give you more strength, more agency in terms of making that balance in that sense. And we try to be as flexible as we possibly can to help you juggle those commitments. And that's often our students say the cloud learning that they've done as a part of their courses in teaching has really made a difference for them when they've become teachers through one of our career change programs. And the method areas that I mentioned, the curricular method areas that I mentioned before, are assessed on the basis of whether you have majors and minors in those areas as a part of your undergraduate degrees, and also if they correspond to areas that you can teach in within your school, within the Australian curriculum and the Victorian VCE, for example. So each of those would be assessed individually at the time of application as well. Some of the examples of students who have made the career change includes Adriano, for example. Adriano studied the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching and studied teaching Italian as a part of that course, and is also prepared to teach VCAL as well. And he notes that, you know, he had a child halfway through the course. In fact, every year in that course, we usually have at least one child. So in many respects, there might be 50 students enrolled and 51 people in the course. So it's pretty typical for people, you know, who are engaging in life. And Adriano was able to use the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching course to help him make that career change to become an Italian teacher. And also Zoe as another example. When we asked Zoe what was helpful for her, she commented on the inclusive culture and the flexible learning options being quite valuable to help her make the career change, and in particular the cloud-based learning, which helped her balance her work life and the job that she was looking for in teaching. So all of our career change through those master's programs that I've just been talking about, the Master of Teaching suite and also the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching, they can take you to different employment pathways, and we have nearly 90% of our graduates actually get jobs before they've even completed the degree. We have very, very high success rates in terms of our courses, in terms of, you know, getting jobs. And because career changes also bring much of life experience as well, they're also very valuable for schools who have people with lots of life experience. But many of them, most of them actually are working in primary and secondary schools. Some are also working in TAFE and university contexts as well, depending on what they have in their career background too. Lots of early childhood teachers working in early years and kinders and early childhood settings. They work across the government, the independent and the Catholic schools. They have jobs in all of those settings. Some work in non-government organisations, for example, in training settings. Some work for the government doing policy work and in consultancy. Some of our graduates from these courses also go on and do more research and do PhDs. But interesting, you might be surprised to know that quite a few of them work in hospital schools and even juvenile detention centres. Many of them go on very quickly to become leading teachers and leaders in their schools because of their career change that brings many other attributes that are helpful for schools as well. I'll talk very briefly now about the CASPer test that I mentioned earlier. The CASPer test, as I said, is a non-academic selection tool. We are required to assess all of our students on the non-academic elements that they bring into teaching, and that's what the CASPer test does. It's a part of our accreditation, and it assesses your skills in areas such as communication, teamwork, empathy, ethics, problem solving, and professionalism. So the CASPer test is actually an online test, and it's completed at home, and you just need the sorts of equipment that you've got now that you're using to access this presentation. So it involves doing 12 different scenarios, which are 8 videos and 4 text-based scenarios. And then you're required to answer 3 open-ended questions, which take about 5 minutes each. You can have a look more into the CASPer test, looking on that website that is presented there. It does cost you $80 to sit the CASPer test, so it's a good idea to have a practice using that website. And we've got more information about the CASPer test on that Deakin CASPer website, which is down the bottom as well. So if you're interested in applying for one of these courses, you can apply for the Master's Suite courses, as in the Master of Teaching courses, through VTAC direct using the vtac.edu.au website. But if you're interested in the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching secondary, you can apply direct to Deakin using that deakin.edu.au/apply. And that will take you to the forms that you need to fill out to apply directly to Deakin for the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching. So both of those, VTAC for the Master of Teaching and for the Master of Applied Learning and Teaching secondary, through the direct application. So thanks for joining us. Please stick around for our Q&A session, which is after this. We also have the live chat with that. And I'd encourage you to also download our postgraduate teaching flyers and the CASPer booklet, which is on the site, and attend a virtual campus tour. And if you do need to head off to another session and can't stick around for our session, then speak directly to one of our experts on the live chat at any time throughout the day as well. So thanks again. It's been wonderful to see so many of you here tonight, and good luck in making your decisions about a career change into teaching. Thank you. Bye.